watching and following along with this attached review has probably figured out that avoidants are the bad guy in the attachment space. Are they really bad? No, but yeah, they might need a little work. They can damage themselves and they can damage partners too. So yes, avoidants are the bad guy of the attachment theory at around 25% of the population. But beyond the avoidance, there's another big bad wolf that you guys know probably very well if you have an internet connection of any kind. Narcissists. That's the real deal, the real villain. Steps and steps and steps above where avoidant ever thought about going is the narcissist. What do I know about it? Way more than I ever wanted to. I've spent so much money. Oh, hey, Hunty. Yeah, I've spent a lot of money on therapy, counseling, things like that over the years. And part of that was due to narcissistic abuse, narcissistic tendencies. And then later, the internet was like, whoa. And I feel like the word alone just gets viral. Like, those are the videos I'm not trying to click on. Like, I don't want to know anything else about narcissism. I said that probably 2 or 3 years ago. Like, I know too much already. Like, I know so much I'm dangerous. I don't want to know anything else. But as I was reading the attached book and looking at a lot of those characteristics about avoidance, I was like, huh, that kind of sounds familiar. That sounds familiar too. Oh yeah, that too. A lot of the tendencies aligned. So of course I had to do a little Google search like, hey, is there some connection between avoidance and narcissist? Well, yes and no. Why does it matter? Like, okay, like cool, nerd out, girl. But why does it matter? Well, if you are in a relationship where you are experiencing extreme difficulties or abuse of one level or another, 9 times out of 10, it's going to fall into one of those 2 buckets, an avoidant or a narcissist. And some avoidants are narcissists, so yeah, it gets a little tricky there. But yes, it gets a little cray-cray. I did take a few notes just as I was looking because I knew I could not remember all of these things. So I'm gonna give a little tea, and then if there are any questions, anything like that, definitely come through with the questions. I'm for it. So the internet has a lot to say about avoidance, but they aren't the true villain. Just 25% of the population who make life a little more rocky for whoever they're with. The true danger goes past the avoidance and into a special space for the tiny part of the population who are narcissists. Yes. So research by the Cleveland Clinic says that between 0.5 and 5% of the population are narcissists. And of those, 75% are assigned male at birth. So I guess they really are the bad boys of the internet. Well, at least like 3 out of 4. So yeah. Anyway, the research is likely skewed though because many narcissists hide their behaviors, AKA covert narcissists. So they're not going in to get checked out. They're not part of the number. So I do feel like the numbers are probably way off base. But anyway, the Mayo Clinic says that narcissism may be linked to environmental factors, especially the parent-child relationship, with either too much adoration or too much criticism that don't match the child's actual experiences in life other than what they got in that relationship. And then genetics do also play a factor. So if you go through the process and figure out that you are with a narcissist, please don't reproduce because you might reproduce another narcissist. We don't need any more. Like we have enough. Capacity is full. You can't sit with us, narcissist, period. Anyway, there are several commonalities between an avoidant and a narcissist, but there are also critical differences. Essentially, a narcissist is like an extreme avoidant with the added evil powers of entitlement and grandiose views of self in most cases. Attachment theory is much easier to diagnose, understand, and treat by the professionals. I am not a professional. I've just spent a lot of money talking to them, so I have that real deal knowledge. Let's see. So narcissism may stem from the same roots as attachment with the added factors that cause escalation, such as the enhanced genetics, which don't play much of a factor in attachment theory, their own personal temperament, which can affect both, of course, personality traits, which can affect both, and certain environments, which very clearly affect both. Hey, Christy. So it is complex, but there is some information out there to make it make sense. I would love to put together some kind of quiz where you can just go through and see like, okay, what's it looking like? But yeah, I haven't gotten there yet. I think whenever I was in a counseling situation with someone, the counselor pulled me aside and was like, have you looked into narcissism? And at the time I was like, no, I don't even know that word. Like, what does that mean? She's like, well, you need to look it up. And I looked it up and I was like, that sounds like very severe. She's like, it is. And to be honest, it would take several sessions to fully diagnose like, hey, NPD, like a disorder. She's like, and most of the time, I'll just be clear and honest with you, most people who are narcissistic will not go through the process of gaining diagnosis. So I want you to look at these couple of factors and just tell me if they resonate with you and how that looks. And so we went through several different questions and all of them pointed the same direction. It's like, okay, well, that's a possibility. Well, what would the treatment be? And she's like, well, about that. Most narcissists don't want to seek treatment. They don't like treatment and they don't like admitting that they have any sort of problem. And apparently, according to old Google anyway, and Mayo Clinic, that is common. It's not just a one and done. A narcissist does not think they have a problem. So they do not need the therapist. They did not need the medication. They do not need the rewiring, retraining, any of it. So if you are with a narcissist, the best case scenario is probably just not to be. But if for any reason that is not an option for you and you are obligated in some way to stay in that space, there are a few things that you can do to make life a little bit easier. This is a lot to unpack, a lot to untangle for sure, but there was some information that I thought may be helpful, that I had found helpful along the way in determining, okay, yeah, there's some things that don't feel right here, that don't feel normal here. What am I dealing with? Or what am I? If you're on the other end of that relationship and you're like, oh my gosh, guy or girl, whoever, even my exes all say the same thing, that I'm so selfish and full of myself, and they all keep calling me a narcissist. I wonder why. If you are on that end of the ball game, take inventory and see, okay, is that me? Do I do that? Is that how I apologize? Really, me? So there are a few things that kind of came up that link the two, and then a few that separate the two. So as far as linking, one of the traits or habits, things that may show up that make it really difficult to know up front if you're dealing with a narcissist or maybe just with an avoidant, is that inability to be happy. They really struggle to be happy and they really want to be dominant. And this can be, there are avoidants that are women, there are avoidants that are men. That population is fairly mixed. Most narcissists are men, 75% are men. So the numbers go here and go there, but whoever your partner is, if you notice those traits back to back, it could go either way. The four main words that come up for both avoidance and narcissist are unhappy, dominant, exploitive, and oppressive. So those four words are all obviously negative words, but they do apply to both. So avoidants experience less happiness in relationships overall. In the book, it will talk about that of all the attachment types, they're the least happy because they can't get the love that they're needing and wanting. So they tend to be the less happy version of relationships than any other attachment style does. They do tend to have that inflated sense of self and love to place themselves on pedestals. But imagine the pedestals here that an avoidant has placed himself on. That's nothing. It's up here. It's sky high for a narcissist. Hi there. So if it's this level pedestal for an avoidant, it is up here for a narcissist. So not a measurable difference. You can't say well, how much do you love yourself? How much better than me do you think you are? You can't ask those questions in real life, so it does make it a little difficult to determine. But whereas an avoidant will have a lower level of happiness, narcissists cannot find happiness. It may look like it on the outside, but they really struggle to find any level of happiness. They just tend to expand the level of pain that they are inflicting to give themselves a temporary feeling of happy. If you have watched much narcissism content, they always call that the supply. Like, you are the supply. You are the supply of happiness and energy and good things, because they don't have that on their own. They can't find that happiness inside themselves like most people do. So they are searching, they're on the hunt. And unfortunately, to harvest or gain that supply, they're usually hurting someone in the process. So they are causing pain to get whatever shreds of happiness they do get, but they can't maintain happiness like a healthy individual could. So let's see. Just as leading on a path to destroying a partner and never fulfilling themselves or finding that joy that they desire. Another commonality would be taking pleasure in the exercise and power of the subjugation of others. So an avoidant often does cause power struggles, but the difference is an avoidant is only causing power struggles when they're trying to gain space. If they feel too close to entrapped, then they'll do things that will create space. So they may do mean behaviors, hurtful behaviors, trying to help themselves have space because they're feeling too crowded. A narcissist, on the other hand, takes it to like ninja level. Picture an avoidant on steroids. Like, whatever the anger level is, it just went up. Hostility level up. All levels up, like completely hulked out. So, says, if you look at it like steroids, their drug of choice is the malice intentions. Pain isn't enough for them. Space isn't enough for them. They have to take it to a new level where it's like demoralizing, intentional pain that cuts to the core. And an avoidant will tend to do the same behaviors over and over. So with an avoidant, you'll notice patterns like, okay, when we get too close, they kind of back off for a couple days, things like that. Well, with a narcissist, they're not going to do the same pattern. They're like, okay, did that? It worked, cool, definitely hurt them, got an emotional reaction. Let's take it up a notch the next time. Hey, that worked pretty well, all right? Let's take it up a notch. Let's take it up a notch. So it's always increasing, where an avoidant's probably gonna do the same thing, especially if they feel like it worked and they got that space or freedom they were after. The narcissist is like, cool, that worked. Turn it up a notch. A little bit different. So, see a couple notes in here. I am replying, guys. I don't know. I didn't see any questions or anything there. If you guys do have questions, definitely put them in the chat and I will certainly get to them. I don't know all the things, but I know more things than I would like to on this topic. So I will certainly bring them to you and save you some dollars where I can, for sure. So, one of the other things that came up, which is kind of what came up in my head when I was reading through some of the personality traits that tend to be avoidant. Not always, you can't go by this list. It's not 100% type thing, but avoidants are both called cocky, manipulative, avoidants are both called cocky, manipulative, selfish, all of those negative words. And like I said, you guys have even seen one of my friends who is an avoidant, and I would not think to use any of those words when describing her. Like, I don't feel like any of those words apply, but it is generally relationship based for an avoidant. So you may hear those words from their partner, but not their coworkers, not their friends, probably not their family. You're only gonna see them kind of acting a fool with their partner because that's who they get close to, so that's who they have to push away from. Then with a narcissist, you're gonna hear that same list of words from everybody. Like, if they go to the same coffee place, something like that, they're gonna be like, ooh, yeah, oh, he's rough or she's rough. Like, she's so cocky, so full of herself. You're gonna hear those same negatives on repeat from everybody. Oh, hello. Oh, I hope it's not breaking up. I'm sorry if it is. I should have good signal in here. So I don't know. We'll see. If it keeps breaking up, definitely let me know. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm right by my whatever that's called, my little internet box too. So it should be working in here. My apologies. Can you guys hear me now? Okay. Okay, good. Thank you. So when it comes to all those little dirty words, when it comes to narcissists, they're going to check all those boxes. And they're going to check all those boxes for everybody around them. They're going to be like, are they cocky? Oh, heck yeah. Are they selfish? Yes. Like, people are all going to be in agreement that this person just shows up in a negative, cocky way, period, point blank. If they are a grandiose narcissist, there is another variation of narcissist that, of course, complicates it just a shred. But for the most part, a very high percentage of narcissists, everyone around them is going to have that same feeling about them, like, ugh. And if you've ever dated a person who is narcissistic, that's the one who your friends are all gonna be like, oh, you like him? Like, he is so full of himself. Like, what do you see in him? He's such a jerk. So that's usually the people that get big reactions, whether guy or girl. Like, if you have dated a narcissist and your friends or family are like, oh, like, why? And almost repulsed by them, yeah, that's the ones. So narcissists do check all those boxes, and again, bring out like the Hulk steroid version of each of those words. So yeah, your avoidant might be selfish, but if you have a narcissist, like, ooh, they're bringing new meaning to the word. Like, they are bringing it full circle for you, for real. So the main notable difference, again, is just that an avoidant is going to show that to their partner, a narcissist is going to show that to everybody. Like, the world, at home, at school, with kids, everybody gets that ugly, yucky version. The topic is the connection and the differences between narcissist and avoidant partners, because the internet, it talks about both of them as like the bad boys pretty much of the internet, but they are not the same. They're both bad potentially and have some really bad, very harmful character traits. But it's so important to know, if you are dealing with someone like that, which one they are. And I feel like that's where the internet's not giving much clarity. Like, a lot of the same words are used for both. A lot of those same descriptions do apply to both, but there are some differences that let you know what you're really dealing with. And I had spent thousands of hours and dollars and books and things like that having to try to learn the difference, because an avoidant can get help if you can get them to a point where they realize, oh man, my behaviors are really not letting me show up well. Oh, I'm being harmful to you. They can make some progress and get some help and put some behaviors into place that will really help. Narcissism, if they will go to treatment, that's already the 1%. Very, very, very rarely will they even be open to a conversation or treatment. If they are, ironically, one of the main treatments for a narcissist is fixing their attachment stuff. So all of these same attachment theory practices that a psychologist would do for someone who is avoidant looking to heal, a narcissist will go through those exact same things, just on a steroid level, like big time level. And it's because both of these have those environmental factors, but definitely have factors based on attachment in those young formative years, from like 9 months to 18 months specifically, but all the way up to 7. So if you're in a bad household, that's why a lot of times multiple kids will be from one household and they'll all have problems that you see. And the problems might not be exactly the same. Some may be avoidant, some may be narcissistic, or some just may not cope well. But a lot of times, if there is a really, really bad startup to life, they're gonna see problems. And these are just two of those big problems that show up over and over that there is a little research on, but really not much out there. So people struggle to get the info. It's not easy to find. Even if you are, like, I'm a book person, there's not much out there, or not much that is science-based out there. There's a lot of opinion-based, but I personally need the space where the opinions and the science and the Bible go together. So I've got to find that commonality for me to be like, okay, I believe this, like, this makes sense to me, I'm with it. We've got a question on here from Miss Christie. Do you think there is too much attention on narcissists and less on avoiding them, and or why the person attracts or keeps them around? Ooh, girl, that's a good question. I do think there is way more attention on narcissists in the last year or two than I have personally ever seen. Whenever I was dealing with this stuff, it was several years ago. And that was not like a trigger word, a big word, but I feel like the internet is like, ooh, trending word, let's talk about narcissists. And many times when someone is talking about a narcissist, they're really not speaking of a true narcissist. They may be speaking of a narcissistic tendency. And there's a difference because we all have narcissistic tendencies. Like, let's be real, there are all times where we inflate ourselves beyond where we are, whether that is with work. If you work a job, you might know a narcissist. But honestly, like if you go to work or if you go in public places, you're going to see examples all the time of narcissistic traits. But having a trait or even a couple of traits does not mean that someone is necessarily a narcissist. So it gets probably way more play than the numbers would support. But again, numbers are skewed because narcissists don't think they need help. So they do not necessarily fall into the numbers because the numbers come from clinicians and they're not seeing clinicians. So maybe it's real, but I do think it's really inflated. There are always trending topics, and avoidance sometimes trend, but I really think narcissism has been going real strong for a really long time because it's a really good way to throw a lot of bad words and a lot of bad tendencies in one bag and be like, oh, nope, clearly a narcissist, that's you, boo, and roll with it. So people like it because they're like, oh yeah, all those bad things, that's them. Throw in a bag and done. Not necessarily true. So less on avoiding them and or why the person attracts or keeps them around. Well, there is information on that. I feel like I've seen more information on why you attract them than anything else. And you attract them if you are what the internet calls good supply. What is good supply? Well, what was the good supply that started them out? Either the coldness or over attentive. Those are things that started them out, good or bad. And it may have been one parent's cold, one parent's over the top. But usually as a male, it tends to be the coldness. So if a woman is narcissistic, she's gonna like that guy who's a little cold, a little difficult, not giving her all the love and attention, but still into her clearly. Like she's going to be very attracted to that. Like, oh, okay, like this feels oddly familiar. I'm getting him, I'm gonna be with him. Kim K is one of the famous actual real deal narcissists, according to all the studies that have been available for viewing. Not just those traits. Can we see those traits? Yes, we can. If you hear her talk about herself, you'll be like, yeah, that's a little narcissistic. But actually, mentally, she's one of those examples. And who does she tend to go for? Some of the guys who are going to be a little harsh with her, that coldness. We don't know where it came from, but whatevs. Well, on the other end, most guys are gonna go for the warm and fuzzy. So if you are warm and fuzzy and sweet and loving and kind, generous, all of those things, they're gonna love you. That should be a healthy, good thing, right? Well, not for a narcissist. If your boundaries are not super firm and they can just take, okay, I'm harvesting all of this goodness. Ooh, I like this, especially if you are complimentary to them. And if you put them on that pedestal that they already think they're on, oh my goodness, you are it for them. They're gonna be so excited to have found you. They call that new supply. When there's especially a new girlfriend or new partner that is coming in like, oh my gosh, why are you so handsome? Why are you so fine? Oh my God, you're so good at everything. You're so strong. You're so whatever, which is that healthy, normal, good energy for a new relationship, right? You are impressed by them and you want to be impressed by your man. Those are healthy behaviors on your end. But on the narcissist end, instead of taking those and loving them and reciprocating back to you, they're taking those and keeping them because that's the only kind of happiness they're getting in their little world. And they have nothing to give back to you. In the initial stages, there is what is called love bombing, where they're going to throw everything at you. Why do they do that? to get you hooked. That's the staying part. People are always like, well, why would someone stay with a narcissist? If they know they're bad, why would they stay? Love bombing, gaslighting, a lot of the things in the narcissist tool belt that are there to make them stay. Because if someone saw the true, real version of a narcissist, no one would stay. They would be all alone forever after, period. Like in the book, I'm out, no matter what, if someone saw the true. But they're not going to do that. Narcissists are extremely intelligent. They have had tons of time in life to put this little toolkit together. Like, okay, well, I don't have any empathy, but I'm gonna go ahead and fill that in with all these little tips and tricks to keep them coming, keep them staying with me, keep them giving me all these compliments and wonderful things and thinking I'm so amazing. So a lot of people stay with a narcissist because they get hooked. Their nervous system gets hooked, their mind gets hooked, their bodies get hooked on all of the goodies that the narcissist brings up front. And then even some people after a narcissist, they will finally get on out of town and leave and be with someone healthy. Like, oh my gosh, healthy's so boring. Like, where's the toxic crazy sex? Where's, 50 flowers when they called me a name? Like, where's all that? The highs and lows that they are now accustomed to. What's crazy is in the beginning, narcissists usually attract someone who is very, very healthy, minus the boundaries section, like healthy in all other spaces other than boundaries. And then they break each of those items down one at a time. Like, oh, you're confident? I'm taking that away. Oh, you're super fit? I'm not giving you time to do that anymore. Oh, you're this and that. They find someone good, cut them on down, like all the way down. So people who have been in a narcissistic relationship, they know the pain at a deep level, and now that they know what it is, they also know how to never ever go there again. Like, all right, now I see that. And they'll see on date one, like, ooh, I don't like how he talked to that person. I don't like how he just made himself better than me, or whatever it is. Once you have been around it, whether it's in a relationship or even if it's like a brother or something like that, if you're around it enough to pick it up, it's something that you will run from like the plague. And I do feel like that is why on the internet you will see people saying, like, you see a narcissist, you better run. This is how you stay away from them. This is how you block themselves or block yourself from them. Because they know if you don't block yourself, you are in for some crazy town. And I think a lot of people that do speak about it are still in like that protective, sheltered mode. I don't know if it's because the wound is fresh, like they've just recently gotten away from the person, they're still scared and they can't quite see it yet. Like they don't know that they're going to be okay and going to be able to recover and going into every other relationship with new knowledge. Like, I think that's why the internet just says stay away from them, because most of that stuff is coming from people who are still in like a sick stage with it. Like they have not healed from it to be able to talk about it confidently and know like, oh, these are the things and these are things I cannot change. That might be the other reason too, because it is not something you can heal. So if you figure out, oh, okay, my husband or my wife has these tendencies, you can't fix it for them. Like most things in life, you can't fix other people, but you really can't fix that for them. But the part that I feel like is missing is that you can fix the you part. Are you going to be able to have no feelings and just avoid terrible things being said to you? No, of course not, and you should not. I'm not ever saying take abuse, because no, don't take abuse. But like I said, they're attracted to goodness. So keep your goodness, girl. But they are not attracted to boundaries. That is another part that I feel like is just like super huge and almost the tell, in my opinion, between an avoidant and a narcissist. Because guess what? If you have a boundary, even if it is a new boundary, and you've been with this person forever after, like you've been together 10 years, and you put a new boundary in place, like, hey, I've decided, like, if we're fighting and maybe you get upset and hang up with me, we're not gonna talk for 4 hours. Like, we're just gonna put a little time out on us so that we don't fight and say anything we don't wanna say. It's a great boundary example. If you use this to an avoidant, Avoidants are so good at respecting boundaries. That is a strong suit of an avoidant because, again, avoidants want space, right? They don't want to be smothered and meshed. They want their space. So an avoidant is like, ooh, a boundary? I'm good at boundaries. I understand the language of boundaries. I'm hearing you. Yes, okay. Yeah, okay, like we can do that. That makes sense. Like a timeout might be good if we're fighting. Okay, so imagine on the other end, you are with a narcissist, new narcissist or old, doesn't matter. You're with a narcissist and you say, hey, if we're fighting and you get upset and hang up on me, we're gonna put a little 4-hour window in there just as a buffer so that we don't fight anymore. A narcissist is going to lose their minds and they're probably going to make you miserable. Because whereas avoidants love boundaries, narcissists hate them. Whereas an avoidants speak in boundaries, that's one of the things they may abuse them, but they do understand the language, the concept. Narcissist hates boundaries. Even the word boundaries would probably piss them off if you have or are with a narcissist. They don't like them, like at all. So if you say that same thing, they're gonna lose their stuff. How are they gonna show up? Don't know, because again, magical powers of craziness and evil can kind of pop up there. They might call you 150 times until your phone dies. Literally, that's possible. They might pull up to wherever you are. Oh, you don't want to talk to me? Oh, I'm your boyfriend and you're not trying to talk to me right now? We fighting, I'm trying to get us to a good place and you don't want to talk to me? They might break up with you. There's no telling. They may drive to wherever you guys live, pack up their stuff so that you come home to an empty house. Like, it could be anything. I do not have a pattern because, again, narcissists don't tend to follow a pattern. They tend to follow just up-level escalation. Whatever they did last time, we're going here this time. We're going here that next time. We're going here the next time. Because that's where they get the high from. They're not getting the high from, let's work it out, let's be healthy. They're getting the high from, ooh, this is unhealthy. And they are so bothered right now. Another reason that narcissists don't like boundaries is because usually if you are inserting a boundary, you're in a calm, collected place to do it. You've either thought about it ahead of time and established in your mind, the next time this thing happens, whatever the thing is that may be kind of on repeat, I will do this. The next time I'm called a name I don't like, I will leave the room. I will leave the house, whatever that looks like. Usually, if someone is enforcing a boundary, they are calm. They are not emotionally doing the most. Their hormones, their inners are chill. That's another reason that anxious people are not only targets for the avoidant, but for the narcissist, because they're the opposite of chill. They don't do boundaries well. They don't speak boundaries. And if they did try to speak a boundary, they probably wouldn't be good at being firm with it and holding it, and they probably wouldn't be calm with it. So as a formerly, at one point, anxiously attached person, if I was talking about the hanging up the phone issue, I might say like, okay, next time that you hang the phone up on me, it's gonna be 4 hours. And then when it came time to do it, I'd be like, 4 hours? That's a long time. That's long enough for them to go cheat on me. That's long enough for them to go pack their stuff up and leave. That's long enough for all the bad things, right? So an anxiously attached person is probably not going to be very good at putting a boundary in place. So duh, the narcissist loves that. The avoidant hates it because they're like, okay, well, I speak boundaries, I can do that. That's a good way to, let us have our space, and maybe once I feel like I've had my space, then I can connect with you after and we can have a better argument. That's a healthy avoidant, not on the far end unhealthy, because far end unhealthy almost blends with that narcissistic air. It's like, cool, 4 hours freedom. What can I do in that 4 hours? It's bad. So all of this is a spectrum. Anxious is a spectrum. Avoidant is a spectrum. Narcissism is a really ugly spectrum. So let me see, if you guys have questions, definitely throw them in there. Let me see if there was anything else that I noted that I thought would be, like with the Kim K example. I personally had not heard that until I was looking into this a little more. That Kim Kardashian is like real deal narcissism. Who else? Adolf Hitler, not surprised. who would be. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And it also makes sense in some of the ways where a narcissist will see themselves on this pedestal as ideal, even if they don't match whatever that is. So their reality version of themselves does not match what they actually are like. Kind of with him only wanting, blonde hair, blue eyes, and he had brown hair and brown eyes. Like, bro, like you're killing the people that are you. Make it make sense. It doesn't, it won't. What else? But who else? Joan Crawford. I have not seen her in years, but when I was a kid growing up, I was always like, wow, she is like very, very confident. That was the word people, like before people started calling women like bosses, like, oh, she's overly confident. She's very, sure of herself and full of herself. Oh yes, for sure. But some of those tendencies go way past that. Let's see who else. Henry VIII, like there are some stories about him back in the day, especially people he killed and stuff like that, where it was stuff that he did as well, but was executing others for it. What ifs? And then my favorite, DT, yeah, rolled in the Dorito sauce, but thinking he is hot stuff even at this age. And of course, some of the inappropriate comments along the way, things like that. Just the full level of confidence is certainly in that realm that makes sense for grandiose narcissism. But I do feel like there's enough people to kind of rein it in. Like, okay, we see you being cray cray, but it is a little entertaining, but we're gonna rein it in and keep some caps on it. So I don't know, we may or may not be safe there. Not my place to judge. Let's see. Oh, so one of the other areas that you can probably tell that you're with someone who's not necessarily healthy and who may be in the avoidance space or maybe in the narcissistic space is how do they apologize? That's one of the biggest questions that will tell you what type of partner you are with, regardless, even if you have no thought that your partner might be avoidant or narcissistic. How do they apologize? Great question. So if it is an avoidant, for example, their most common answer is going to be, I'm sorry you feel that way. You're going to, go into, oh, it really hurt my feelings when you said that. It made me feel terrible and small. I'm sorry you feel that way. Not I'm sorry I said it. I'm sorry for what I said. No specific apologies. Just I'm sorry you feel that way. That's a common one, but at least they are able to apologize and most of the time will apologize, even if it's generic and not a good apology. That's one of the things that therapists will do for an avoidant is teach them how to apologize. It's like a 5-part thing, like I have done this, I think it made you feel that, I'm sorry, next time I'm going to do this, and then a wrap up of does that solve it for you, are we okay? So that's one of the things that an avoidant would go through is learning how to properly apologize so that their apology is felt and heard, whether it's by someone anxious or someone secure, or even if they happen to be with another avoidant, which is very unlikely. But avoidants are not good at apologies, but they will give an apology. Not a good one, but it's something, and it's something easy to work on if they, again, are the type who wants to work on themselves. Let's see. So when they apologize, it does not generally come with correction of behavior, but they will apologize for doing something, even if maybe they do it again the next day. Hey there. They tend to apologize from a less than genuine place, maybe just to avoid an argument because they don't like conflict. So a lot of the times when they apologize and you can tell and feel like that was not a very genuine apology, you're just doing that to move on with our day. That's true. They are just doing it to move on with the day. And if you were to say that, they'd probably be like, well, yeah, like I don't want to ruin our day. So I'm going to say, I'm sorry that you feel like that. And that way we can move on. I don't have to address what I'm doing. I don't have to change what I'm doing, but we can move on with our day. So it's not the most genuine. It's not the best, but at least they can apologize. A narcissist, on the other hand, if they apologize, which is not very likely, but if they do apologize, it is still going to be something along those lines. Generic apology. Oh, yes. Yes. Well, welcome. If they do apologize, it's still going to be one of those, I'm sorry you feel that way, or any other generic apology, like not, I'm sorry for what I did, but I'm sorry that you don't like what I did. And still kind of blame shifting to you, even within the apology itself. And then they're most likely to have apologies that include language such as I guess, or just anything that like subtly puts the blame back on you. I guess I should say I'm sorry. I guess I shouldn't have said that. I guess that wasn't appropriate. Things like that, you'll hear a lot of I guess, because it's not that they genuinely feel that it was wrong or inappropriate, but again, super intelligent. So they know, I don't think this is wrong, but society and a societal norm says this is wrong. I probably shouldn't call my 6-year-old niece fat. I guess I should apologize for calling that little girl fat. Not, oh, I'm sorry, that could cause her, all these traumas and issues. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that. Like a normal person, if for some reason they said something crazy, they're going to be genuinely apologetic. Narcissists, no. I guess, I guess I shouldn't have done that. Guess I shouldn't have cut that person off and flipped him off and followed him home. Guess I shouldn't have done those things from a very nonchalant attitude. And even with the DT example earlier, if he does something crazy, that is the type of apology that's coming. Well, I guess the people wouldn't appreciate things like that if there is an apology at all. So it's just one of those things. It is nice. Oh, thank you. I still have workout clothes on, but I already knew that if I went and got dressed for the day, that this was not going to happen. So I figured it better happen while the time was available. So here I am, sweaty and all. What up? Let's see. So with the apologies, yes, I guess I should say I am sorry. I love this. I hate, but I love this one. I guess you want an apology. Or I guess you need to hear me say sorry for that. That I guess is like one of those things even years later that's still just like, I don't know, you can even see it on my face. It's a little pink right now. Like that little angry vein. Everybody's got an angry vein somewhere. I totally have one, and I feel like that is one of those things that would get my angry vein just cranking. Okay, I guess I should apologize for this terrible thing that I have done. Yeah, so perfect example for a narcissist. Or finding something that you did that kind of goes with it to shift the blame off of them onto you. A mirror apology. Like you're trying to show them a mirror of themselves, like, hey, that was so wrong. Like, how could you treat me like that? And I'm like, well, how could you treat me like that? Uncanny ability to flip blame off them and onto you. That's one of the things that therapists probably make a killing talking about, because you could get so hurt and have it flipped on you, and then you're like, wait a minute, like what did I do wrong here exactly? And when you start to say it out loud or unpack it, if you are doing the work for yourself and you are getting help, you're like, wait a minute, oh my gosh, like I didn't do anything here. One infamous example would be narcissistic rage. They like to throw things, break things, especially expensive things. Yeah, say there is, like, you guys have a nice bar area and you have really expensive cups and shot glasses and things like that. It's a whole set. Your narcissist knows you love that space because you cultivated it, you crafted it. It's your space, okay? They get mad, smashing glass, smash another glass, smash another glass. Like, hey, here's $100 worth of glassware on the floor. They're probably not gonna clean up, but they're probably gonna have commentary. Oh, I guess you want me to clean that up. Oh no, your favorite glass, it's gone. I guess you want an apology for that. Well, don't think you're getting one. And then they're gonna be like, oh crap, that's gonna look bad. How do I flip this back? Well, you clearly don't even care about our glasses because you have left the same cup on your nightstand for 2 days. 2 days! So you don't care about our cups. So don't act like you care about these cups that I just smashed. You don't care about our cups, okay? So just an example of something getting flipped on you and blame energy coming on through. And again, narcissists tend to be very highly intelligent with seeing what's going to work, what's going to get emotional reactions. When you'll hear about narcissistic supply, it's based on an emotional reaction. And a lot of people are like, oh, well, if I stop reacting, what will happen? Usually narcissistic rage. You are not giving them that supply of emotion and love that they are wanting, of that, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I shouldn't have done that. You're right, that cup should have been put away 2 days ago. You're so right. I don't take care of our stuff. You're so right. If that's what they're wanting and you give them, are you serious right now? Like, I'm going to the gym, bye. You did not give them that emotional high, that crazy town that they were looking for, so narcissistic rage is likely to escalate. Well, now they've done that, it's not like they're gonna be like, well, that was enough to break those cups today. No, they're gonna have to do something else. Well, I didn't get an emotional reaction, I guess I'd better do some more. So as you're walking out the door or trying to, they might walk up and snatch keys or some other toxic behavior because they did not get the emotional juice and response from you that they were anticipating. So again, if you are in one of those relationships, I'm sorry for you. It's probably not going to improve. But knowing that you're in one is step one of life after a narcissist, okay? Knowing it is step one, key step, because if you don't figure it out, you're probably not getting out. If you figure it out and you can research it and see the facts of the matter, you're way more likely, I can't remember the statistic, but you're a lot more likely to either leave the scenario or heal your side of the scenario. You cannot heal the other person's side. That is a them problem and not a you problem, but you can heal your side at least to the point of being safe, being protected from further damage. Because whether you're with an avoidant partner or a narcissistic partner, there is damage, okay? Like there is a lot that you would not experience if you were in a relationship with someone who is healthy. When the book goes through the secure attachment, I think it's chapter 7, where they talk about a securely attached person. It's like, oh my gosh, that just sounds like a dream. Like you love them and they just love you back. Like it's not drama, it's not roller coaster, up and down, crazy town. It's just healthy, normal behavior. They reciprocate, they speak kindly and clearly, they can communicate their emotions, like things that feel like not just basic good things, but if you've been with someone terrible, they feel like luxuries. Like you just hit the freaking Powerball, okay? After you have been with someone terrible and you go be with someone good. Now, it is difficult. I will not say it's not, because you're used to toxic behaviors and toxic is your normal, but it also feels so good when you give someone a compliment and they hear it and they say thank you, instead of it gassing their head up and them being like, well, yeah, you could probably look good too if you lose 25 pounds. When someone just says, oh, thank you, baby, you're so sweet, it's like, wow. Or just when you have normal evenings or do have an argument and it's not the end of the world and it doesn't go on for a month. It just, okay, guy, like, next time we're gonna do a little better. Let's put our minds together, how we can fix this, and someone speaking to you calmly and not, wrecking the house. It's a luxury item that everyone deserves to have. It's like going from a bike that has a flat tire straight to the Lambo. Like you're like, oh my goodness, like where has this been all my life? I love it. This is amazing. I don't ever want to get out of this car. I'm trying to stay here where it's healthy and good and luxury, okay? So there is a whole different feeling being with someone who is secure versus someone who is not. But avoidants have that hope factor where you can get to somewhere good, and narcissists, yeah, you're not probably on the path to anywhere good, unfortunately. Let me see if there were any other thoughts that was really sticking out. Ooh, when does it show up? That was something that I certainly wanted to look at too. So avoidant attachment can show up during any developmental times, even babies, children, anyone who has any difficulties in that parent-child bonding stage, it's probably going to show up and become a problem, but usually doesn't show up until they're dating. So whatever age that is, different cultures are going to have different ages where dating shows up. But for an avoidant, it's usually going to be that dating, personal relationship area that you start to see problems, not just with family, things like that. There may be some tendencies that show up, but you're really not seeing anything cray-cray until dating stage, whatever age that is. And again, they can move towards secure if they put in the work. So if someone who is avoidant based on childhood experiences is dating someone secure, there's a very high possibility that they may not go through too much craziness. They may just start working towards security. But if that first person they're dating is someone on the anxious end, those two, it brings out all the toxic in both. So the anxious person, same thing. If you're anxious and getting to that dating relationship, those anxious tendencies are going to come out full force if you get with someone who's avoidant. If you're anxious and you get with someone secure, probably gonna take those steps towards secure. You may become secure. You guys may stay together happily ever after, great. So dating is the phase, and it just depends where you're at, but also who you get with. So it's a little bit different in adult relationships because we know more of what to look for and more of what's normal because we've dated before or been in relationships before. But for, say, a teenager, a 16-year-old, a 17-year-old, whatever age that is, they don't know what's normal. So they're just pretty much, it's like luck of the draw almost. Some may have the, emotional intelligence to know what they're looking for, but a lot of kids who are first dating really don't know. It just kind of happens. And if they happen to get lucky and get with someone secure, then they've got a good path. If they happen to get unlucky and get with someone who is going to aggravate their inner problems, it's going to be a little more difficult for them. Let's see. Avoidants are stubborn in seeing their issues, but if they're open to learn and seeing how damaging their behavior can be to others, there is hope. When does it show up for narcissists? Narcissistic traits can surface at any age, but generally increases to a noticeable level between ages 14 to 18 years old, reaching its peak during their late 20s or early 30s when they have the most substantial power and influence. That, of course, makes sense too, because if they're all about adoration, I'm so wonderful and I'm so amazing, well, if you add some power and influence to that, it gasses their heads up even more. And they're getting gas and fuel from not just one partner or two partners usually, but not just partners, but hey, at work, I'm getting gassed up. Then I leave work in my nice expensive vehicle and I go to the gas station and I get gassed up there. I go to the grocery store, I go to the gym, I go everywhere and get gassed up more. So a narcissist who has their stuff together, especially in whatever age the influence is, like this said 25, 30, but I think that can go a little higher. Just if they're in a good place, a narcissist feels untouchable, unstoppable, that they are the most attractive, the most talented, the smartest, the most capable, the most wonderful of whatever it is they are. If they are a doctor, they will not just say like, oh yeah, I'm a doctor. I am the best doctor in the whatever, I don't know specific, but they're gonna think they are like the top tier of whatever they are. And whenever you're thinking about like DT, something like that, like his energy always gives like, I am the, and even Kim K, like more so back in the day, I think she's relaxed a little bit now, but she always came giving full confident energy. People like confident energy. Not even gonna lie there. That is not necessarily a bad trait. It's just when it goes to that level where what they think they are is no longer matching up with reality. Like if they're actually a CNA and they're like, I am the top heart doctor. I am the smartest person ever to have worked in this hospital, blah, 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 but they're actually a CNA. That does not match. So when their realities do not match, that's rage waiting to happen for sure. But it's also the point where people start noticing and seeing like, well, that doesn't match up. They said they were this and they're that. Narcissists also lie a lot. Avoidants will lie a lot too. The difference being an avoidant will usually lie to get space, which still is not right. Lies are lies, don't lie, but they'll usually lie to get space. A narcissist will lie just to breathe, Just because, why not? Because it's going to give me an advantage. It's going to put me in a place, and I deserve to because I am on a self pedestal. I'm amazing, and whatever I say should be true if it's not true. So the lie to lie. Let's see. So where where everything was talking about can it be cured, avoidance, every spot I looked, and including in the book, don't say that it can be cured, but it can be helped so much that it's no longer a problem. So it may not be 100% cured, but it's definitely fixable for how you show up in relationships. Same with anxious, it's fixable. You can move from wherever you are to secure. And attachment dynamics can help a narcissist too if they are willing to work on it, because some of those roots are the same. Childhood bonding issues cause narcissists most of the time. So if childhood bonding issues cause narcissist and insecure attachment, then a lot of the ways to fix that are going to overlap. A lot of the studies, a lot of the therapies overlap for that reason. And the more and more I read about it, the more I'm like, okay, that does make sense because the origins are mostly the same. So let's see. If a narcissist does seek treatment, which is very unlikely for them to seek voluntary treatment, maybe involuntary, maybe as some sort of court agreement, things like that, that's when a lot of narcissism will come out, is when there are custody cases going, especially like those high level custody cases. That ex-partner is gonna be like, okay, well, they are a complete narcissist. I don't want to get train wrecked in court here. I don't want to potentially lose, my children, my home, whatever that might look like. So I'm bringing out the big guns, and the big guns for a narcissist are anyone who knows what they are and can see beyond that mask. Like they have a mask that they're putting up, and then they have the real deal. And a therapist, but especially a well-trained therapist who specializes in narcissism, can paint that picture so quickly and pinpoint, oh, this is a tendency, this is a trait, this is a tendency, this is a trait. Okay, we have enough here to prove a point. So in court, they're going to prove those things. Otherwise, if you don't have that on your side, what I call the big guns, which is just the mental health professionals, a narcissist really might just like train wreck your life, because that's, guess what? Another way to get an emotional reaction from you. That's more power, more supply they can get. They love that. They love seeing you cry in court. They love seeing you just do the most and super upset. So yeah, there's just so much that I could go into on how it looks as far as toxic, how to heal it, how to recognize it. But really, I just wanted to say that I try to avoid narcissism topic because I've just put in too many hours of one lifetime dealing with things like that. But as soon as I was reading this book and reading those avoidant traits, characteristics, tendencies, I was like, that's an overlap, that's an overlap. There's gotta be something out there about this. And there was not necessarily a lot to be seen, but there was some. The Psychology Today website has a really good attachment theory test that I like. And they actually had, it was only a few paragraphs, but they actually did have an article that many narcissists are avoidantly attached. They're just kind of like that next level Hulk version with the steroids of Crazy Town. So if you guys have any other questions, it doesn't necessarily have to be about this, but any relationship, mental health, wellness, that type of questions, if you guys have anything you want to ask, I will stay on for a couple more minutes and go through those if anybody's got anything for me. I think I am going to add like a business email, something like that, where people can reach out later too, because a lot of these topics are not really stuff that people probably want to put in a comment section on a public forum like YouTube, which definitely makes perfect sense. It gets a little crazy, so I do not blame you if you do not put anything out here, but If you are in a toxic situation where you think that that partner might be either avoidant or narcissistic, there are some quizzes online. Definitely go through some quizzes, get yourself some information. And if you have the availability, with insurance, things like that, for some therapy, look into some therapy and don't just look for a regular counselor. Look for someone who specializes in either trauma or abuse, because if they specialize in either of those areas, they're going to know full well all about narcissists and all about avoidance, because that tends to be the people who are hurting others in relationships. So they're probably getting a lot of people who are in your same boat coming in saying the same things that you've said. They've probably heard a lot of this, and they can probably recognize so quickly, like, oh, okay, yes, you are healing from, narcissistic trauma wounds, or, I think your partner was probably avoidantly attached, and have you gone through this, this, and this? And you're like, oh my gosh, yes, that's me. And having someone who recognizes those things, or finding the knowledge on those things online, totally feels very good. It feels good to be seen like, oh, it's not just me. I'm not stupid for being with this person or having been with this person. I'm not stupid for this experience or for sticking it out for so long, or whatever it is, the negatives that you're feeling and judging yourself about are gonna feel so much smaller. It's like just putting them in the dryer and shrinking the crap out of all of those negative self-talk items when you figure out that it's not just you. It's really not you at all. It's not a you problem necessarily, it's a them problem. You figure that out, it's such a key to happiness. But yes, if anybody has any questions, let me stay on for just another second or two and see if any questions pop through. Well, I don't see anything coming through, but definitely feel free to like, subscribe, share, all of those good things so that you get notified the next time there is a live. Because if you have questions that are burning at your heart and you don't have access to the right therapist, the right books, things like that, chances are I have probably read it. I might have at least enough information to be dangerous to point you to the right book or right people to help you get back to a good, happy, healthy area, because why not? We live one time. The time we live has got to count. We've got to be well mentally, physically, all around. We've got to be well now while we can. And if you're in a situation like this, you can't really be well, and so you get the help that you need, even if that's just the information that you need, the right reactions that you need. Another great, easy resource that I can say pretty much everyone needs right now is this $10. It goes through, and it's great for self-awareness too. Hopefully you take a quiz and you're like, I'm secure, great. So I am showing up well, I'm not hurting my partner, good. But if you get some other result, there's so much information on how to fix that and work on that. And I'm telling you, like, they have packed, well, I think Amir Levine, one of the writers, was a therapist. That's probably why. I'm telling you, they've packed hours and hours and hours worth of sessions into small bite-sized tidbits that you can pick up regardless of your education level, regardless if you've ever done therapy, anything like that. There are just very simple examples. They're like, oh yeah, I could do that. I could be better here. Oh, I do hear that from, I heard that from 3 of my exes. Maybe that's me. So there's a lot of valuable info in there that you probably need to get a hold of. Overall, I hope it was helpful, and have an awesome afternoon, guys.